So let me begin by introducing Fiona Scholes to talk about printed solar cells with the question, who needs low power in an attractive form factor? Fiona.
Thank you for that very kind introduction, Lenny. And as first cab off the rank, on behalf of my Thyro colleagues, I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight. We're absolutely blown away by how many of you have come to see us talk, so thank you. This is a bit of an experiment for us. We haven't done something like this before, but we are scientists. We like experiments, so it's all going to be good. So now to science and to solar cells, and in particular printed solar cells like this one. As you can see, this printed solar cell is quite different from your average solar panel that you see on the rooftops of Australian homes. It's very thin, it's flexible, it's lightweight, obviously, it's a little bit see-through, and it's not based on silicon at all. It's actually based on carbon inks. And so this kind of form factor and these sort of properties lend itself to very kind of novel and exciting applications that one could not really even dream of when it comes to conventional silicon solar. So we can think about integration into consumer product packaging, window furnishings like blinds, tinted windows themselves. Imagine skyscrapers lined with solar panels. Wouldn't that be great? And because they're so lightweight and the production method is inherently low cost, it opens them up to the possibility of being used in remote and developing communities. So this technology we've been working on in conjunction with Melbourne University and Monash University. And about 7 years ago, we pulled together a team of chemists and physicists and engineers to approach this technology challenge using a two-pronged attack. The first one being a focus on the development of new materials, so the new solar inks, if you like, and the second being the printing process itself. And so in that printing process, we've had a real focus on, and a very deliberate choice to utilise off-the-shelf commercial printing equipment. And so now we're more or less printing these sorts of solar panels in the same way that we would print things like our famous plastic banknotes. This is where we're at now. You can see that this is actually about 30 centimetres wide. We print it on a roll that's 30 centimetres wide, and then we just chop them up to the size that we want. We still have a few challenges there. Our 10 centimetre wide rolls are going very well. We're producing those very reproducibly. But the main challenges to push this technology forward are durability, efficiency, of course, and reproducibility in terms of a production sense. But some of our technology is ready now. We're very keen to see our technology deployed into products. So very happy to hear about your ideas and to answer your questions. Thanks.
So I should have, is this working? Yes. I should have explained that the format of tonight's evening is 10 minutes per presenter, 3 minutes for the presenter to present, 3 minutes from questions, 3 minutes of questions from yours truly, and then 3 minutes of questions for the audience. So as I'm asking Fiona questions, feel free to get yours ready. So I guess my first question, Fiona, is can you expand a little more on potential applications for this?
Potential applications. Well, I guess wherever you can think that solar panels are used now, one could potentially use these, but then we can think much broader than that. So because it's not rigid, it's lightweight, it's flexible, the projected costs are much lower than silicon. So really, I think your imagination is your only limit to where you could use them.
Cool. So I'm going to be, and this is a note to the other CSIRO presenters. They're just good questions. Are going to come hard and fast. So Fiona, you're the first victim. How do you judge how much to continue to invest in evolving the product to improve attributes like you're working on durability and replicability in terms of manufacture? But you know, is there a big wig somewhere that says, thus far, no further, we're ready to take it to the next step? I haven't asked you what the next step is, but I will. But is there how does it work internally?
So the project's been going for about 7 years now, and during that time we've had sort of 2 or 3 project phases. We've received quite considerable support from both the state and federal government during all 3 phases. We've also had some financial support from some companies as well. So as long as someone's prepared to pay, we're prepared to keep going. Having said that, the current environment is perhaps a little wobbly when it comes to renewable energy. But I think the response that we have when we present our work in a technical context, in the context of the general public, is always really positive. So you saw up there that video, that was an ABC, the business story that aired a couple of weeks ago. And the response, again, as with every outreach activity, is really extraordinary.
Okay, so I'm just going to try and come back to my question again.
Yep.
Like Gordon Moore and Noyce, who started Intel, they could have kept researching chips for like 10 more years.
Yep.
But they said, let's go start Intel. So when are you going to go start Intel?
When someone gives us some money.
All right, all you people with money.
But the technology has, I guess, I mean, the technology, you could kind of look at the technology and think, oh, we're never going to get as efficient as silicon, so let's just can it now. But we're not. That's not where we're at. There's actually a lot of room for us to improve. There's a sort of a second kind of class of inks that's come onto the shelf in just the last 12 months, which is promising to deliver efficiencies almost as good as silicon. So I guess the science tells us, the science in combination with what people seem to want tells us to keep going.
So in relative terms, where are you, like in a world stage? Are you one of 3, one of 10?
So there's lots of groups around the world that are focusing on solar ink development. A lot of those are academic groups. And so they might publish world record efficiencies, and they are indeed world record efficiencies, but they're on solar cells that are, 0.1 of a square centimetre, and they're not printable. They're never going to be manufacturable. There are other groups. There's one other group that focuses solely on printing, and we're probably the only group worldwide that has this dual focus of ink development and printing, and that's been
why is that a good thing?
Well, it's a good thing because one feeds into the other. So we will never even start synthesising an ink that we know is going to be too costly to produce, or not scalable, or not survive the printing process. We know what the printing process requires from an ink, and so that governs our design choices when it comes to solar ink design.
Strategy and practice running parallel. So there's a question here, and yes.
It's not a question, it is a question. I just wanted to ask you, is there a branch of research that works with a product or industrial design? Do you see the potential applications of the form factor?
Yeah, so that's certainly something that we have become very interested in recent times. The technology, to be honest, we weren't getting the reproducibility that one would require for deployment into even a prototype run of products until maybe 12 months ago.
So the question was, do you work with industrials as a designer? And Fiona's thing is we work on more basic matters, not quite yet. Is that the summary?
Well, we haven't really been at a point where that has been an issue. So
Gotcha.
the issues have been technological challenges, but now that's absolutely where we're at, because we're scientists, we're not designers. I mean,
You've got to capture
Yeah.
with that platform.
Yeah. And to maybe a bunch of scientists, this looks pretty cool, but maybe to a bunch of industrial designers it looks a bit boring. I mean, it's just a piece of plastic.
It's not going to cut it on the Kickstarter campaign. That's a question
Yeah.
here.
Fiona, how long before the 3D printing has the capacity, for instance, to power a solar car, where it's got the productivity that could actually put enough power and actually run a car?
Well, I think even with silicon solar technology, you struggle to get enough power to power a car. And I think with all of these sorts of renewable energy technologies, it's good to think of them as one piece of the jigsaw puzzle in solving your energy needs. So these, as they are right now, are enough to kind of trickle charge a battery, for example, and boost its lifetime by a few hours. We're certainly confident that we'll go beyond that, but
I'm not going to be racing down
No.
the freeway on anytime soon. Sorry, last question. There'll be loads of other presenters just over here.
Simple question. What's the technology readiness level associated with your technology there? And have you looked at integrating it with the other types of printing technologies, printing the circuits, OLEDs, etc., to come up with an overall system that can actually deliver something that someone will spend money on and buy?
yeah, so in parallel with these printed PV tech activities, we also have in the same sort of research group some OLED research activities, and Carl Weber will be talking about that later today. So we've been running those in parallel. We have done a few things in combination where we had a printed solar panel on a flexible substrate powering an OLED, which was a commercial logo, also on a flexible substrate. So we've done a few things like that. We certainly, I think, would like to do more. I think we'd see a lot of value in that, in I guess, focusing on what someone needs and then using that to guide where we put our research efforts in developing the technology further.
Everyone put your hands together for Fiona.